Welcome denizens and detritus of the internet to week 2 of Yang's Construction Spotlight, the magic of foam. Without foam, there are no boffers and therefore no amped guard. We will look at various types of foam that you can use for various parts of your weapons, and as with cores, these various types of foam will be listed in my resource sheet, which I will link in the description of this video. Let's start with the basics, omni-blades. There are two basic design philosophies in Amp Guard, and of the two, omnis are the most commonly used. Omnis are your typical round bats, and all portions of the blade are strike legal, so no matter if your weapon turns in your hands, there's no edge or flat, so you'll still be good. We're going to talk about 3 different options with varying price points and quality. First up are pool noodles, or fun noodles. A nice inexpensive option. The ones I found on Amazon will run you about $3 per short sword. The downside of pool noodles are dimensions and quality. They may not be the dimensions needed for Field Eagle Amp Guard weapons, and there's no need for quality control, so there's a wide variance in weight and durability. Superior option at the same price point is Frost King pipe insulation. The one you're looking for has 1-inch walls and fits 1/2-inch PVC pipes, so it will adapt well to your 1/2-inch cores with a small spacer buildup. Price is between $2 and $4 per short sword, depending on whether you can get 2 or 3 swords out of it, as they're not always a full 6 feet long. Also, other types of pipe foam work well for uses such as courtesy padding and flail chains. Next up is ether tube and mithril tube. These are the same item but with different names from different sellers. They are of reliable quality, slightly more durable than Frost King, but at the same approximate weight of 2 ounces per 24 inches. These, however, have a 1/2-inch hole and thus need no spacers for your 1/2-inch cores. Price is $12 per short sword plus tax and shipping. Similar to ether tube is the Pro Tube from Optimum Arms. This is a hybrid tube with 1/3 being ether tube and the other 2/3 being a lighter foam. The thought being that tips are usually what blows out first due to moving faster and hitting harder and more often than portions closer to the handle. I have not used these yet, but I am told they are quite good and weigh about 1/2 ounce less than pure ether tube or pipe foam. That concludes the section on omni blades, so let's move on to the other design philosophy. While omnis are built with simplicity of use and performance in mind, there are those that want their swords to look like swords, which brings us to flat blades. Flat blades are meant to look more like actual weapons and are more complicated to make, but much more fun to use for you flurbs out there. I use the sandwich method, which has 3 separate sections. First is the meat, the 1/2-inch thick layer of foam, 1.5 inches wide for a normal 2.5-inch wide blade. These will have a channel cut out for the core. Next is the bread, also 1/2 inch thick and the same width as the meat, 1 layer on top and bottom of the meat. Last is the crust, or a 1 and 1/2 inch wide, 1/2 inch thick strip that runs around the bread and meat from one side of the blade to the other. So let's talk about the foam types that can be used for each of these parts. First up is camp pad. The popular one being $14 at Walmart. This gets you a 6 foot by 20 inch by 1/2 inch pad. This is best used for the bread portion, but can be used for the meat and crust as well, although it will be less durable and stable than the other options. Next up are floor mats from Harbor Freight. Even less expensive than camp pad, you're looking at around $11 for 4 22 by 22 inch squares. This is a denser, heavier foam than camp pad and is best used for the meat portion for stability and durability. This foam is too dense for your striking edge, which leads us to the next kind of foam, cross-linked polyethylene, or XLPE, specifically 2-pound density. You're looking at $18 to $38 plus tax and shipping, but this is the superior choice for your crust or striking edges. Much more durable than camp pad at about the same weight. You can also use it for your bread with the added bonus of being more precisely half an inch thick. Now let's talk about the non-blade portions of our weapons and what I would use for those, starting with the pommels. There are probably a million ways to make pommels, especially for omni-blades, and they can be camp pad, floor mat, or XLPE in 2, 4, or 6 pound densities. I personally use camp pad or floor mat for my low-end omnis and 6 pound XLPE, torque wrapped as tight as I can get it with a layer of floor mat over it, also highly torqued, for my high-end omnis. This makes a nice, dense, durable pommel that works well for pommel fighters. For your fancier flat blade pommels as well as cross guards, I also recommend 6 pound XLPE, as it is nice and stiff while still being foam. Although floor mat can be used as well, just expect a lot more squishiness and potentially a shorter lifespan. Lastly, we'll talk about some miscellaneous foams that don't neatly fit into the categories we already covered, starting with craft foam. Available in inexpensive sheets, this is good for detail work on your flat blades, as well as lightweight spacers between core and omni foam, as well as core and handle. Another use for craft foam is to build up your thicknesses if you don't quite meet the rulebook specs. And if you want to make a plasti dip shield, you can buy thicker rolls that are good for a nice smooth skin on your shield face. Next up, stress balls. Available in cheap 2.5 inch diameters, although a lot that say 2.5 inches aren't quite. Remember our craft foam buildups? These can be used as spell balls as well as arrow and javelin tips. Speaking of arrow and javelin tips, an even softer alternative to stress balls is open cell foam, aka couch foam. This can be found at your local craft store and also makes good crumple zones for weapons with heavy heads like axes and warhammers. That's it for foam, at least as far as my knowledge stretches today. Feel free to DM any questions you might have, and I'll see you next week.